Your alarm goes off. Or maybe it does not, because you woke up before it anyway. Your eyes are barely open. Your phone is right there on the nightstand, screen down, full of notifications from overnight. Messages, emails, news, whatever the world decided to throw at you while you slept, but you do not reach for it. Instead, you put on your boots or your sandals or nothing at all and you walk outside. The air is cool. The light is gray. The garden is quiet in a way that the rest of the day will never be. You stand at the edge of the first bed and you look. Just look. Did the tomato change? Did the squash flower open? Is the basil still standing after that wind last night? You touch the soil, you check the moisture, you crouch down to see something closer. 3 minutes, maybe 5, and then you go back inside and start your day. Your phone was waiting the entire time. It did not go anywhere. But something about checking the garden first, before the screen, before the messages, before the world gets in, makes the rest of the morning feel different, steadier, more yours. You probably could not explain why you do this, and if you tried, it would sound too simple. I just like to see how things are doing. But the reason you check the garden before the phone goes far deeper than preference. It goes into the architecture of your brain and the way your nervous system calibrates itself for the day ahead. Today, you are going to discover exactly the psychology behind people who check the garden before the phone. And by the end, you will understand why those 3 minutes of silence in the dirt might be the most important decision you make all day. Let us start with what your morning actually looks like from the inside. When you wake up, your brain is in a specific state. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, naturally spikes in the first 30 to 45 minutes after waking. This is called the cortisol awakening response, and it is not a problem. It is a feature. It is your brain booting up, preparing your body for the demands of the day. The question is not whether cortisol rises. The question is what the first input is when it does. If the first thing you do is pick up your phone, the input is this: emails demanding response, news headlines designed to trigger anxiety, social media feeds engineered to capture attention through comparison and outrage, messages from people who need things from you. Every single one of these is a directed attention task. Your brain, which is still in its startup phase, is immediately loaded with demands. The cortisol that was supposed to gently wake you up gets hijacked into stress processing. Before your feet even touch the floor, your nervous system is in reactive mode, responding, defending, worrying. The day has not started and you are already behind. You figured out, probably without knowing any of this, that going to the garden first changes everything, and you were right. The psychologists Rachel and Stephen Kaplan at the University of Michigan spent decades studying how different environments affect the brain's capacity to function. Their attention restoration theory identified that natural environments activate involuntary attention, the type that does not deplete you but restores you. When you walk into the garden in the morning and look at the plants, your brain is not working. It is being fascinated. The pattern of light through leaves, the color of a ripening tomato, the smell of damp soil. Each of these stimuli captures your attention without effort. And while your involuntary attention is engaged, your directed attention, the battery that will be drained all day by work, decisions, screens, and obligations, gets a head start on charging. Those 3 minutes in the garden are not a delay before your day starts. They are a buffer, a neurological preparation. You're giving your brain the chance to complete its startup sequence in the environment it was designed for, before you expose it to the environment it was not. The second mechanism is about dopamine, and it explains why the garden feels so different from the phone, even though both are checking on things. When you check your phone, the dopamine system is activated by unpredictability. Will there be a new message, a like, an email, a piece of news? The brain releases small hits of dopamine in response to novelty and surprise. This is the same mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. It is intermittent reinforcement. Sometimes you get something rewarding, sometimes you do not, and the uncertainty itself becomes the hook. This type of dopamine activation is fast, shallow, and leaves you wanting more. It does not satisfy, it agitates. When you check the garden, the dopamine system is activated by progress. The tomato is one shade redder than yesterday. The seedling you transplanted last week has a new leaf. The squash flower opened overnight. These are not surprises, they are progressions. Each one confirms that your effort is producing results, that the system you are tending is moving forward, that cause and effect are working. Dr. Kelly Lambert at the University of Richmond calls this effort-driven reward. And the dopamine it produces is qualitatively different from the phone's dopamine. It is slower, deeper, and it satisfies. You do not check the garden and immediately feel the urge to check again. When you check, you see progress, and you feel settled. That is the difference between dopamine that agitates and dopamine that grounds. By checking the garden before the phone, you are training your brain to start the day with grounding dopamine rather than agitating dopamine. And that initial calibration sets the tone for everything that follows. The third mechanism is sensory, and it connects to research that most people have never heard of. Dr. Christopher Lowry at the University of Colorado discovered that Mycobacterium vaccae, a bacteria present in healthy soil, activates serotonin pathways in the human brain upon contact. Serotonin is the neurotransmitter that regulates mood stability, emotional resilience, and the ability to handle stress without being overwhelmed by it. When you walk into the garden barefoot, or touch the soil to check moisture, or simply breathe in the morning air near the beds, you are receiving a microdose of a natural serotonin activator. Before coffee, before food, before anything. Your phone delivers cortisol and agitating dopamine. Your garden delivers serotonin and grounding dopamine. The order in which you receive these chemicals shapes the entire neurochemical profile of your morning. And you chose the garden first. That is not a quirk. That is an instinct that your body followed before your mind could articulate why. There is a fourth layer, and it is the one that connects this behavior to something ancient. For the vast majority of human history, the first act of the morning was checking the environment. Is the fire still going? Did the water rise overnight? Are the crops intact? Did anything happen while we slept? This was not optional. It was survival. The human brain was calibrated over hundreds of thousands of years to wake up and assess the immediate physical environment before doing anything else. Your phone hijacked that circuit. It presents itself as the environment first thing in the morning. It offers information, alerts, updates. The brain treats it as an environmental scan, but it is not. It is a stream of abstracted, decontextualized, emotionally loaded information from everywhere and nowhere, delivered to a brain that is still in its startup phase. It is like running a stress test on a computer before the operating system has finished loading. The garden is the original morning scan. You walk out, you look around, you assess. The plants are fine. The soil is moist. Nothing collapsed overnight. The environment is stable. And your brain, running the same ancient program it has run for millennia, registers, safe, stable, you can proceed. That signal, that quiet, everything is fine from the physical world, is the foundation on which a calm, focused, productive day can be built. Your phone cannot give you that signal, because the world it shows you is never fine. There's always something wrong, something urgent, something that demands a response. The garden gives you the opposite, a world that is growing, slowly, steadily, without needing your panic, just your patience. So when someone asks why you check the garden before the phone, what is actually happening is this. Your brain is running a 200,000-year-old startup protocol that requires environmental assessment before anything else. The garden satisfies that protocol with real, physical, sensory data. Light, temperature, moisture, growth, stability. This activates the parasympathetic system, delivers grounding dopamine through visible progress, provides serotonin through soil contact, and restores attention through natural stimuli. By the time you walk back inside and pick up the phone, your brain is calibrated, centered, ready, not reactive. Those 3 minutes barefoot in the garden are not a delay. They are the foundation. Everything that comes after is better because of them. And somewhere inside you already knew that. Your body knew before your mind found the words. If this is the first time you're here and you recognized yourself in what you heard, subscribe. This channel was made for people like us. And tell me in the comments, what is the first thing you look at when you step into the garden in the morning? What is the plant you check first every single day? I want to know.